Masai, what would you say to any fans who are expecting a blockbuster trade today?
What would I say? Yeah, it didn't happen.
Why didn't it happen?
Why it didn't happen? The opportunity was not there for us for a blockbuster trade.
Were they prospective deals that fell apart late in the day, or was it a very quiet day on the phone?
I was quiet a little bit today, but the trade deadline, is like this. Sometimes there's a lot of stuff, and sometimes there's nothing. That's how it goes. That was a little bit. I wish I could give you details, but
How close were you to making a move before you left?
how close were we? The way I look at the deadline, it's really not a great place to make long-term decisions, and that's how one of the ways we looked at it in terms of some of the things we were getting.
How do you think your team stacks up in the East now, given the shifts in the last couple days?
We'll try. I think we'll try. I think growth is not linear, so we've had really a bumpy road, and that's what you expect sometimes with a young team. And we have a young team, and I think players have made progress individually, but as a team, it's been up and down, and we had a really rough stretch. But I believe in these guys. We believe in them, and we think growth sometimes takes a while. I think there's a level of impatience now with how we think about things and do things, and hopefully we can have a little bit of patience, but everything that we could have done today, maybe we can do in the summer.
Why is the summer and the draft a better time for long-term planning?
Because I think at the end of the day, in the summer, there's 29 losers and 1 winner. So there's 29 teams looking to do more.
Masai, what was the logic in the deal you did make for Jakob? Kind of looks like you're investing in a group that has underperformed this year. So why would you use future assets to get a player to help a team that's been struggling now?
We study the draft a lot, so we study the years in the draft. That's one. Secondly, I think it's something we've lacked on our team. To be fair, on this team, I think I hadn't done my part maybe for this team to maybe play a little bit better. I think we needed a big like Yak, protect the rim. These guys have confidence in a really good passer, a big body, one of our own, which I think really fits. So I think I look at it that we needed to at least give them some chance with a big rim protector there, and see what this team does.
How much did the familiarity, as you mentioned, the history with Jakob sort of factor into targeting him and bringing him back?
We know him as a player, we know him as a person. I think there's a fit here. I think sometimes we've played a little selfish. Sometimes we've played a little he's gonna pass the ball a little bit better for us. So knowing him, knowing his style of play, but just knowing the guy, I think already brings a little bit of spirit for us, and guys see that.
When you spoke after the Tampa season, you were pretty clear that the play-in range is not somewhere that you want it to be. That's where you guys are in the standings right now. Not to say that there isn't enough time to get out of that spot, but if that's where you end up somewhere in that range, has your opinion on that changed, and if so, what?
The plane at that time was the plane, and this time I'll make my comments on the plane if we are in the plane or at the end of the season. But for that time, that was the situation we were in, and I didn't see, I didn't see why we should, strive for that with that tough situation in Tampa at all.
You said you still believe in this group. Is it just based on last year? Why in totality do you believe in this group?
I believe in the players, I believe in the coaching, I believe in the organization, I believe in them individually, I believe in their talent. I think there are times in the season when we got a little bit too individual. I think there are times in the season when we went away from it. I don't know that there was as much focus. I'm hoping it comes down, but it comes back. And it seems like it has started to a little bit. But again, I say growth is not linear, and it's going to be up and down with like young teams, young players. You've seen Scotty, you've seen Precious, you've seen OG, Fred, Pascal, sometimes up and down. Gary, we have to, I think, make that assessment at the end of the season.
You have, with Turtle, you have 3 guys who could or will be unrestricted free agents and however much money before you get into the tax. Are you committed to trying to keep all 3?
Yeah, we're always focused in trying to retain our players. That's always the focus for us, and we'll be focused on that with these guys and see how we perform the rest of the season and make that assessment.
Do you feel like maybe you've taken a bit of a risk in that if they don't perform, and so you're in a position where you have to sign guys to contracts that they're looking for off a season that has maybe met expectations, or losing them for nothing? Like, I mean, is that a bit of a risk you're taking here? Yeah,
I asked those questions with many guys that we've had before. You say we lose them for nothing, but what does that mean? I don't know what that means. We make an assessment of all these players, and when I look at what we could have had now, is it the same thing that we would get at the end of the season if we went into different situations, sign and trades, or whatever, however it is, cap space, anyhow you want to look at it, I feel we'll be fine.
Why do you said the team has maybe lost its focus at times this year. Why do you think that is, as somebody who's looking big picture from above?
Yeah, it's a good question. Sometimes I think, like I said before, I think we went a little bit too individual. We're sometimes focused on that. The ups and downs of a season. I think young players trying to come together. I think success that came very fast. It seems like at the end of last year, maybe the expectations were, we jumped it a little bit, those things happen. Just like it's dialed back to now a little bit. So, there's so many things I think, and that's one of the things I have to look at when we look at the team with Bobby and everybody else. One thing to pinpoint here, but there was a lot of things, you know. You point out we don't have a big. You point out there's a little bit of selfishness in all our players, you know. Like you point out, man, we've had some, you know, like really tough losses. You know, luck sometimes, you know. We had some good luck last year, you know, like you can call it that too at that point, you know, like, and then now, a couple of heartbreakers, little funny losses here and there that could take you, you know, like an inch up. So we hope, you know, like they can start to get together, you know, but it's a young group, and in sports, I understand what you guys do. I understand fans. The patience, I know it's not as much as before because it's now. But from my position, I have to look at like what we're doing on the overall.
Years ago, you called it maybe a culture reset. That was heading into a new season. So now that we're at this point, what can you name it now in terms of this team's new culture?
You know, honestly, Kayla, I'm gonna name it at the end of the season. Yeah, and I still have some time to like assess this, but trust me, there'll be a name. You know, yeah, there will be. Because, yeah, these guys know. I've talked to all of them. I've talked to all of them individually. I've talked to coach. Yeah, like it's a no-nonsense approach now. Like we have to go into now. Yeah, and see at what level we can get to, because we see these guys individually. Yeah, there's a reason why everybody was calling us, or everybody's writing about every single player individually. You know, like then maybe I need to look at myself and say, okay, what the hell are you doing? You know, like is this something I'm doing wrong? I know we have to look at fit sometimes, but I think generally, if I'm looking at fit with this team, I have to give it till the end of the season to look at that. Especially if there's nothing that comes at me that says, hey, you know, like this is something compelling and you got to do this, you know, like to move this thing forward now and for the future of the Toronto Raptors.
You talked about a more business-like approach, more worker-like approach. Mm-hmm. Why do you think that's slipped?
I think we have a lot of like young players, you know, like when you think of our team, you know, like in general, like so that's one, you know, and I think sometimes success a little bit too quick, and I can't even call like what we had like success. Well, like a first round of playoffs, we got our butts kicked, you know, like, but you know, we didn't expect to be there in some kind of way. So we come into this season and we came in tough, and we had, all of us were very confident, and yeah, sometimes that's what, you know, we lose a couple here and it does that to you, you know. And honestly, if there's a way to like pinpoint, you know, players started slow. I'm not gonna use like injuries, all those things, you know, like to make excuses, because every team goes through them, but every team is affected in different ways. And it's the first time I've seen our team really affected with so many things, you know, all at the same time. And hopefully, you know, like there's a different focus now on how we finish the season.
Are you happy with the way that the coaching staff has not only managed that, but also the product that's gone on the floor? Obviously, you're not happy with the results, but are you happy with the job they've done?
Yes, I think Nick has done a great job, you know, and we've all acknowledged, you know, like that there are things that we all need to do better, you know. We acknowledged that we needed to get like a big, you know, like to help the team, because it was something that I wasn't, or we weren't, you know, like able to do earlier, just because of how things work here. But I think the coaching staff adjust well, and hopefully we all continue to grow. But I think Nick and his staff have done a great job. Now we just need to bring it together and tighten things up a little bit.
So if this season ends in a similar fashion to the way it's been going, and the team doesn't make the playoffs or doesn't go far in the playoffs, how strongly do you have to consider a rebuild of this team? Maybe moving some of the bigger assets and getting younger or bringing in prospects?
I think the good thing about it is I think we have put ourselves in position to do any of those, and if any of those situations come about, I think we'll be very, very ready, to attack anything that comes in front of us. We have good, young, talented players. Does it all fit together? Like we're hoping. Does it amount to wins? We're hoping. But if it doesn't, I think we're in a great position to, re-energize this team in whether it's a retool, rebuild, or any way you look at it.
You mentioned earlier how in demand a lot of your guys were, and that's sort of what's been out there the last few weeks, is everyone's identified your team as being kind of at the center of things today. Always a noisy time of the year. Were you surprised by how noisy things were in as it pertains to your team and your players this year?
Yeah, you shut off all that noise because you focus on your team, but obviously it's the trade deadline, so you hear things because you're talking to teams. My honest assessment of it was we have some really good young players that many teams want, and see, like the talent on the team, and these guys have. So that's a way of assessing, and making some decisions, or help make some decisions on what kind of value comes in or goes out with our team.
You mentioned, sorry.
Go ahead.
You mentioned to Josh that you guys are constantly looking at the draft. How did that impact your decision made today?
Yeah, we study the prospects every year. Like we study the prospects coming out in 24, 25, 26, 27. You really have to be engaged to know this, especially with a team like us that really grows our program through development.
Masai, you said that last year you didn't expect to necessarily make the first round players, and that was kind of successful, of course, but what's your expectations for this season?
We want to win. We want to go out and compete and win. So where does it go? I don't know, how far it goes. I wish I could tell you guys, but we want to win. That's what we've said here from the beginning. This is the first year outside of the year of Tampa, like that. We've had really like bumpy times here, but this is, I think, the most bumpy it's been, for us, and we acknowledge that. We know that. And we hope to solve it, but I just want to caution everyone, like that it's not going to be overnight. That's what happens with young players and young teams. You have to build, like gradually, and hopefully we get there, but in the short term, hopefully we make a good assessment at the end of the season.
Has that been a tough conversation to have with guys that have been around a lot longer and they want to win right now? You're thinking about tempering their expectations and what this group can possibly do?
Well, in terms of the guys that have been here longer, like they know. A couple of them are Fred, Pascal. These guys have won championships. OG was here, so they know, they understand, what it takes, so sometimes they have been, frustrated in some kind of way, but there's sometimes too, like that they too have, had to make adjustments in how they're playing, or even do better, like Fred has said it, Pascal has said it, OG has said it. Sometimes they just need to do better, and they're good at holding themselves accountable, and they're good with these conversations, these tough conversations I have with them. So we have to be better. We just have we have to be better. Sports is about winning. Yeah, if you don't win, everybody is going to come and ask 1 million questions. Yeah, and that's what it's about. It doesn't matter how old you are, how young your team is, or what. Sports is about winning, and I think these guys know, and we've addressed it, and we'll continue to. And if it doesn't work out, I think Fred even said it in his last press conference. You know, like if it doesn't happen, then we have to make bigger decisions. Then it's on us.
You mentioned fit, and using the rest of the year to sort of determine whether this team does fit. Does adding Yak to the group, do you think that exacerbates fit issues or helps ameliorate them?
It's a good question. All I know is, like there's some times that we were just, we needed that type of player, on this team, and we feel after our assessments that there would always be questions, like with this team. If we had a big, like us, we play all those 6'11", 6'9", 6'10" guys, and they do an incredible job. I think Chris Boucher is playing well, Precious is playing well. These guys are trying, but sometimes we need that lone rebound, like that a big would get us, or that protection a big would get us. With Yak, even that passing, that he can get us. So I feel that this will be a good period to assess that a little bit.
Did he fly home or to San Antonio last night, or did he stay there?
I got the most unbelievable text from Dan Tolzman this morning, and he said he told me he walked upstairs and Yak was having breakfast like at OVO, like he never left. So so he was here having breakfast. Yeah, he was here having breakfast when he came in for his medical. So
how does something like this affect kind of the futures of Precious Achua and Christian Poeltl? Obviously, those guys need minutes in this year and also the next few years. Do you see room for all three of those centers to play? Do you expect Christian to be in the 905 more with this deal? Just kind of, with Precious and Christian, how do you see them and their development and their playing time going forward?
I think Precious is trying to be a versatile player, and this was asked of him now, but I think he's going to grow as a player. I think you guys see his growth. He's slowing down, he's thinking the game so much better, I think, and that when you play the right way, coaches play you, he's one of the guys on our team, just like OG, that can guard any position 1 to 5, which is huge value for us, depending on who we are playing in the NBA. And so Christian, will play if it's 9:05 he's playing, or he's playing backup minutes here. I think he'll continue to develop. And his development has been gradual. We knew that, but this is what has presented itself now. But these guys will adjust. They're good players, so they'll adjust.
Do you think that what happened with Brooklyn over the last week tangibly changed the trade market from your perspective?
It's interesting you say that, Eric. I couldn't tell, because every day it was up and down, and all I know is 2 incredible players went to the West Coast, to the Western Conference, and there's no how that doesn't bode well for teams in the East, to lose those type players, and in terms of the trade market, it's. Nobody's talking serious till 3 o'clock. Till 5 minutes to 3. And then we all have these baby toy guns that we come and we put. It's
Masai, over the last couple of years, heavy minutes among your starters has been kind of a staple of this team. How do you feel like that affects development both on an individual and a personal level for those guys that are playing the heavy minutes?
Yeah, it does. Like Malachi, Delano, all these guys not playing, it does affect that. We've had those discussions with coach, and we're very, transparent and open in with these things. It's not that, these guys need to play, like one way or the other, and I think sometimes they can play, but I think coach generally makes good decisions for the team, and he'll try his best all the time, to get these guys time when they can. Sometimes it's positioning, sometimes it's time, I think everybody has been happy with Christian. He's gotten minutes, he's a developing guy, he's gotten minutes here and there. And then sometimes with Delano or Malachi, it's been a little bit inconsistent, so hopefully it gets better.
You mentioned, I think at the beginning of the year, you wanted to build a team full of OG Ananobis and Precious Achuas, and you guys were the 6'9" team. Is this desire to add a center in the draft and now, is this a vision shift, or has this been something you guys have been thinking about dating back to even last year?
No, those guys, those 7-foot guys, they classify too among the 6'9" guys. They are in that category too.
When you look at the way the league is trending and three-point shooting is becoming such an important skill, do you guys kind of expect to catch up through internal development and slowly adding pieces, or do you think that you can win in this league without necessarily being one of those top-tier three-point shooting teams?
I think we need to be one of those top-tier three-point shooting teams. We'll get there, whether it's by addition or these guys are getting better. It's patience. We're going to grow, with our team. But yeah, it's not. I plead it doesn't happen overnight.
It's not in saying that you want to be one of the best three-point shooting teams in the league. Saying that you needed a big Yak. The situations that presented over the last couple of days, or whatever it may be, was getting a big, the best opportunity that presented itself, or was it just something that you saw as the biggest thing that needed to be addressed?
It was both. Yeah, it was both. There was an opportunity there, and it's a big need on our team, and Yak was the guy we identified. The opportunity was there. With trades, and this time of the year, it takes two, two teams to make a deal. There's 1 million of them we talk about, and then one gets done. I wish it was as easy as sometimes you guys write or think, but it's not. It's also dealing with what one person wants and another person needs or wants, and putting it together sometimes is it doesn't come together.
So what do you think it would take this team to make a leap like that? I know you're very focused on winning and winning in a big way. It doesn't happen obviously overnight, but if you're not kind of aiming towards a draft this year, maybe finding a special player there, and obviously next year's draft isn't a big priority, it seems, based on the pick. Where do you find that next difference-making move with the tools that you have available to you?
Sometimes, good question. Sometimes is with how we've operated with development on our team, I think it has to come a lot of times from inside, and whether that inside provides the opportunity outside later on, I don't know, but yeah, we have to rise here with development and our talent, and it does take time. You've seen Scotty, you've seen all these guys, reach levels, and they, it's like this, and you're hoping that it gets to a certain point, but I truly believe that it's going to be internally it has to rise, and then when opportunity comes, you know, we put it together.
From an
We'll wrap
evaluation
up,
standpoint.
after, sorry, Josh, just to interrupt. We'll wrap up after 2 more questions. We've been going for 30 minutes. We could do 90 minutes and.
From an evaluation standpoint this year, has it been difficult for you and for Bobby to kind of balance not overreacting to things that happen on a game-to-game basis, but also making sure that you're not underreacting to some of the concerns?
Yeah, just naturally, like, patience is our thing. And I know people don't like it as much sometimes, you know, like, but you, as a basketball person, you're going to be frustrated with what happens on the court every day. You know, that's a natural. That's when you're not winning and we're not playing very well. There are many things that, you know, we're going to criticize or pinpoint. That's just natural. But on the overall, you know, patience is just, I think, what we need a lot of times with this kind of young team and young players.
Is there a risk to patience by, you know, waiting for the shooting to develop inside the team? There's an opportunity cost to not going out and getting shooting from outside the team. Do you feel like you might be missing opportunities by focusing on what can happen inside?
Yeah, sometimes, but I think with time we're going to look at our team, you know, like the microscope, and we know, you know, like what some of that, we hope to know what some of that timing is. We just have to grow it to get to the point where we go get those pieces that make, you know, like sense on your team. If not, you can get a shooter that can't even get on the court. You know, like, I'm playing with these guys, but he's a shooter. So we have to get it where, you know, like, the balance is right. So hopefully we don't extend it out too long if we're not seeing that development on our team. But at the end of the season, we'll address a lot of these things.